Today, we're talking about LS swaps. I'm putting all the part numbers in the description. I told my wife it was gonna cost me about $3,000. Really, it was about $8,000. Let's start with the motor. You're gonna need one of those. Mine was $800 plus tax. Well, that motor is not gonna go in the car as is. You're gonna need LS Conversion adjustable motor mount. They were $167. You're gonna want new motor mounts. I went polyurethane. They were $116. Whew. Guys, there is no way that truck oil pan is gonna fit in that car.
It's the Holley 302-2.
I paid $350 for that oil pan. It's a new oil pan gasket. I paid $40 for mine. They're running about $50 in today's prices.
You're gonna need a new one. They're about $45. Guess what? This part that actually reads the amount of oil, you gotta buy it separate. It's about $45.
I made an installation video on how to install that oil pan. You can't do it without RTV. Too bad that's about $10.
Now you could put this engine in bone stock. Why would you? When a bunch of horsepower is just a camshaft away.
I bought this because the chop starts here. I bought the kit. It came with the cam, it came with springs and push rods. I paid about $600 for it. You're gonna need gaskets, starting with a timing chain gasket. That was $23. How about the lifter valley? That was another $19. How about a new oil crossover plate? It's another $19.
I bought a new water pump. Why? Look at how good that looks. $122. That water pump's gonna need a adjustable thermostat housing. It's $65. 185-degree thermostat? That's another $25. Radiator hose, you're gonna need 1.25 inches coming off the LS water pump, and it's gonna go to the 1.5 inches that matches up with the stock radiator. This one was $15, that one was $23. This guy, and it's an adapter. One side goes from an ID of 1.25 inches, and the other side goes to an ID of 1.5 inches. It also has a line for the steam port. This adapter was $23. Now, if you wanna use those original power steering lines, you're going to need an adapter to that power steering pump. This is what it looks like.
It cost me $21.
I'm running power brakes, which means I needed an adapter that goes into the back of the manifold. It cost me $9.
I had the valve covers off this. I decided to buy new gaskets. Fel-Pro 50504. They cost me $16.
Intake manifold gaskets, they were another $50. For all the other gaskets, I bought this kit. So I bought new gaskets for these guys before I put them in. I also bought a tester to test them. It was about $30. There's a whole video on that. For around $320, I got these headers. You're gonna need clamps. First, an adapter, 3 inch to 2.5 inch. That was $20. Then you're gonna need band clamps. I got another $20 in band clamps.
Now you could reuse the spark plug wire. These guys, nothing wrong with that. But I didn't. Are you really gonna reuse old spark plugs? Nope, not those either. I bought these. You're gonna need 8. They were $44.
In order to get this alternator converted over to work with the original wiring harness for the car, I bought this adapter, $38.
Guys, we haven't talked about computers. All right, guys, big part of this LS conversion, you now have fuel injection. You could run a carburetor. I didn't. I'm running fuel injection, which means I need a fuel pump. I need a fuel filter, and I also need a new fuel line. In the comments, go ahead and tell me how you would do it, how you would save money. Because again, I'm sure there's a bunch of people saying, you don't need any of this stuff. You could just use a lot of those stock components. And I'm sure you can. That's just not what I did.